Russian missiles cross into Poland during Ukraine strike.
These were the headlines, and let's jump right into the details.
Russia pounded Ukraine's energy facilities Tuesday with its biggest barrage of missiles, yet striking targets across the country and causing widespread blackouts. A senior U.S. intelligence official said missiles crossed its NATO member Poland and killed 2 people. A second person told the Associated Press that the apparent Russian missile struck a site in Poland about 15 miles from the Ukrainian border. It confirmed the strike would mark the first time in the war that Russian weapons have come down on a NATO country. The Russian Defense Ministry denied being behind any strikes on targets near the Ukrainian-Polish border and said in a statement that photos of purported damage have nothing to do with Russian weapons. A NATO official, speaking on condition of anonymity, said the alliance was looking into reports of a strike in Poland. The U.S. National Security Council said it was also checking into the reports. Polish government spokesman Piotr Mueller confirmed that an explosion had killed 2 people and said some military units were put on alert while officials investigated. Polish media reported that the strike took place in an area where grain was drying in a village near the border with Ukraine. The barrage also affected neighboring Moldova. It reported massive power outages after the strikes knocked out a key power line that supplies the small nation, an official said. The missile strikes plunged much of Ukraine into darkness and drew defiance from President Volodymyr Zelensky, who shook his fist and declared, "We will survive everything." In his nightly address, the Ukrainian leader characterized the reported strikes in Poland as a very significant escalation that offered proof that terror is not limited by our state borders. We need to put the terrorists in the place. The longer Russia feels impunity, the more threats there will be for everyone within the reach of Russian missiles, Zelensky said. Russia fired at least 85 missiles, most of them aimed at the country's power facilities, and blacked out many cities, he said. The Ukrainian energy minister said the attack was the most massive bombardment of power facilities in the nearly 9-month-old Russian invasion, striking both power generation and transmission system. The minister, Herman Halushenko, described the missile strikes as another attempt at terrorist revenge after military and diplomatic setbacks for the Kremlin. He accused Russia of trying to cause maximum damage to our energy system on the eve of winter. The aerial assault, which resulted in at least 1 death in a residential building in the capital, Kyiv, followed days of euphoria in Ukraine, sparked by one of its biggest military successes, the retaking last week of the southern city of Kherson. The power grid was already battered by previous attacks that destroyed an estimated 40% of the country's energy infrastructure. Zelensky said the number of Ukrainians without power had fallen from 10 million to 2 million by Tuesday evening. Russian President Vladimir Putin has not commented on the retreat from Kherson since his troops pulled out in the face of Ukrainian offensive, but the stunning scale of Tuesday's strike spoke volumes and hinted at anger in the Kremlin. By striking targets in the late afternoon, not long before dusk began to fall, the Russian military forced rescue workers to labor in the dark and gave repair crews scant time to assess the damage by the daylight. More than a dozen regions, among them Lviv in the west, Kharkiv in the northeast, and others in between, reported strikes and efforts by their air defenses to shoot missiles down. At least a dozen regions reported power outages affecting cities that together have millions of people. Almost half of Kyiv region lost power, authorities said. Zelensky warned that more strikes were possible and urged people to stay safe and seek shelter. He said a total of 15 energy targets were damaged and claimed that 70 missiles were shot down. A Ukrainian Air Force spokesman said Russia used X-101 and X-555 cruise missiles. With its battlefield losses mounting, Russia has increasingly resorted to targeting Ukraine's power grid, seemingly hoping to turn the approach of winter into a weapon by leaving people in the cold and dark. In Kyiv, Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said authorities found a body in one of the 3 residential buildings that was struck in the capital, where emergency blackouts were also announced by power provider DTEK. Video published by presidential aide showed a 5-story, apparently residential building in a Kyiv on fire with flames leaking through apartments. Klitschko said air defense units also shot down some missiles. The strikes came as authorities were already working furiously to get Kherson back on its feet and beginning to investigate alleged Russian abuses there. and in the surrounding area. Speaking from Kyiv, Bogner said her terms were looking to travel to Kherson to try to verify allegations of nearly 80 cases of forced disappearances and arbitrary detention. The head of the National Police of Ukraine, Igor Klimenko, said authorities are to start investigating reports from Kherson residents that Russia forces set up at least 3 alleged torture sites in the now liberated parts of the wider Kherson region. The retaking of Kherson dealt another stinging blow to the Kremlin. Zelensky likened the recapture to the Allied landings in France on D-Day in World War II, saying both were watershed events on the road to eventual victory.
Hello and welcome to Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada.